With me, Democratic Congressman Gregory Meeks of New York, a member of the Foreign Relations Committee. It's always good to see you, Congressman. Thanks for coming in. So we see all these moves. You've seen a lot of phone calls from the president. Even as he was in Florida this weekend, he made a series of phone calls to world leaders. He's invited the Ukrainian foreign minister to come to the United States. What do you make of the possibilities for diplomacy?
Well, I think that's the only option here that we have. We need to talk to our allies as well as what's taking place with China now. We need to make sure that we straighten up and have Ukraine in a good place as we pass the bill in the House, trying to make sure that the IMF and others, we give them the kind of financial support that they're necessary so they are strengthened. I think that diplomacy is the only option here.
But you've heard the critics who have said the president is getting outfoxed, being outplayed by President Putin. And first it was coming mostly from Republicans, but we even heard from Chris Coons over the weekend. Let me play for you what he had to say. Okay, full screen here. Let's put it up. There you go. As Putin takes increasingly aggressive steps by deploying troops and armored carriers and overflights of jets in Crimea, in Ukrainian territory, the U.S. needs to be thoughtful, less rhetoric, more action. I frankly think this is partly a result of our perceived weakness because of our actions in Syria. Your reaction?
I couldn't disagree more. Number one, I think that people forget that Putin had done this before. They didn't say the same thing as W. Bush when the Russians were over in Georgia. I think that the only option we have here is diplomatic option, and that is talking to our allies. But you
understand their point. Their point is in Syria, we drew a line. That line was crossed. The feeling was that the actions did not meet the words. And here, in the same way, the president has said there will be a price to pay, but
and in Syria, because we came together in a diplomatic way, those chemical weapons are being destroyed today without, there being any war or any killings of individuals or anything of that nature. Those chemicals are being destroyed today. I think history is going to record that as the right thing to do.
And we also have seen the criticism about whether or not military options should be in play and to what extent. Perhaps not surprisingly, one of the critics is former Vice President Dick Cheney, but let him make his argument.
Well, I think I worry when we begin to address a crisis by the first thing we do is take options off the table. I don't think the administration should do that.
Have they done that?
I'm in a sense saying that no military. He seems to operate that way most of the time. There are military options that don't involve putting troops on the ground in Crimea.
Does Dick Cheney have a point? Do you take options off the table before you see where it's going?
Dick Cheney should keep his mouth quiet. Dick Cheney is the one that put us in the worst standing that we've ever been in with the world, with his false information that he gave in Iraq. And if you would have Dick Cheney running this place, we'd be at war with everybody. He should just keep his mouth shut and stay at home. He's no longer in office. We don't need Dick Cheney. He put us in the worst shape, this country in the worst shape that it's ever been in.
So where do we go? Rand Paul, for example, saying we suspend American loans and aid to Ukraine. What do you think the next step is? And what is your role? What is Congress's role in all of this?
Well, as I said, Congress's role, I think, is to show that the West will step up and we will focus more on the region, that we will make sure that we give some aid to the Ukrainians so that they can make they are less dependent on Russia. And I think that's what we need to focus on. Look, we're not going to go to war. And we've got these, so the only answer is diplomacy. That's why the president is talking to China. That's why he's talking to the Germans. That's why he's talking to the French. And if we're going to do sanctions, the president also knows that sanctions only work when it's done in a multilateral way and getting all of our allies together. And that's what his focus should be in. I ultimately think that what Mr. Putin is doing is going to backfire on him. What he was trying to do with the Olympics, etc., is to show that he can play on a world stage. But if he continues to move in the way that he's going, the countries over the former Soviet countries, they're going to move even closer to the West. And so that's going to be the last thing, really, what he wanted to accomplish, which I think he will, because these other countries, they're coming and they're talking to us, and they don't want the Russians to do to them as they're doing to Ukraine now. And that draws them closer to us, and we need to pay them more attention. We're talking about Georgia, Moldova, and the countries, Azerbaijan. We need to make sure that we're focused there also to help those countries and be focused in that region in that regard.
Congressman Gregory Meeks, always good to have you here, sir. Thank you so much. Chilling story.